Okay, game or match 5, game 1, going for the 4-1 with mono blue Chalice Merfolk with a few changes, and this is gonna be a keep. You know, like I've said before, if I could have exactly one Chalice and I could have it exactly on turn 2, I would almost certainly want to have that in any single game. So, you know, even in matchups where it's not the best, like Jund, almost every deck plays 1-drops. You know, there are some, like some tribal decks that play Cavern of Souls and Aether Vial, and Chalice of the Void may literally do nothing. But in most matchups, if you can stick it on turn 2, you know, as long as you don't draw more than one copy, it's almost always at least okay. So I feel good about this. It also can potentially just be game winning. You know, and of course it's got the rest of the Merfolk action. You know, and that's one reason I play Smuggler's Copter is that way, even when it's not at its best, it's very rarely very bad. I really like opening hands with Chalice, and that's, you know, one of the main reasons I'm playing Chalice. So let's see, we might actually be against Prowess. If so, then you know, Chalice obviously, or Prowess. I said Chalice, but if we're against Prowess, then you know, Chalice is going to be very critical. You know, this could be Black-Red Chalice. Yeah, they cling to dust their own fetch land. I'm definitely thinking Rakdos Prowess, and so I'm definitely thinking if they don't have a discard spell, which it looks like they do, I think, which is heartbreaking. But actually, Spinning Seas might still do a lot of work. But hey, you know, this is where the extra copies of Chalice that could have been bad at an alternate universe actually end up being good here. I have to imagine they take Chalice, you know, unless they happen to have Kolaghan's command in hand. But that's still risky. If I've got another Chalice, that could still be a disaster for them. Well, oh, okay, they're Jund. Well, interesting. I didn't know Jund played Cling to Dust. I remember one Jund player kind of being perplexed when I think played a burn spell on the prowess deck I play on their upkeep, when they had like one black mana untapped on my turn, and they were like, "Why'd you wait till my turn?" And I'm like, "Well, if you had Cling to Dust, you know, I wanted to force you to have to tap on your turn." And they're like, "Oh, you know, we don't really play Cling to Dust in Jund." And I'm like, you know, I've seen people play all sorts of things and all sorts of decks, and they're like, "Yeah, fair enough." So, you know, this does look like this is Jund playing Cling to Dust. I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad choice. It's just yeah, you know, it's not necessarily a card you see all the time in Jund, but I think it's a good card, so why not? You know, and I don't know, maybe my opponent's out of 1-drops. But the good thing about Chalice here is even if they're out of 1-drops, if nothing else, this will help. Prevent Cling to Dust from gaining more value later in the game. Cling to Dust just seem odd a little bit in Jund because it does disynergize with Goyf a little bit, and you would think Kroxa would be the more desired card for Jund to play to escape. I think I'm going to pitch the Repeal here because it's just pretty high mana cost in this situation. Liliana makes it so I can't really play the game of trying to get card advantage with this. But you know, I kind of like being back in my comfort zone with Repeal. I love this card. I haven't really got to really show exactly how I approach playing it. It's really at its best in control matchups, actually. And maybe that makes up for the fact that I'm not playing Castle Vantress in this specific build, which is exceptionally good in control matchups. But yeah, so I am going to play Silvergill Adept, and the reason why is I definitely want to be able to flash something in at end of turn against Liliana. You know, if I draw Smuggler's Copter, that's going to be the biggest issue, but that's about the only thing. I just, you know, generally think, especially with the Planeswalker on the battlefield, I really want to be able to play, and I will show a Silvergill Adept. I feel like that's almost certainly what I'm going to play. It reveals the least amount of information. Yeah, okay. Works for me. Yeah, I really want to be able to play something in end of turn. You just never know if all they have might be Sorcery Speed removal, and you know, a little extra advantage there. You know, of course, if I played it on my turn and I had Mutavault on top, that could have been, you know, pretty good. One thing to keep in mind though is Chalice is also allowing me a little more leeway as far as not being as vulnerable to Lightning Bolt and Path to Exile. As you can see, they discarded it. I kind of have a feeling they've got a Kolaghan's Command, but you know, it is what it is. I think I'll probably bounce the Oboro if they do. Or they'll... Yeah, I mean, I can see that being justified. I'm not sure that I agree with that, though, to be honest. I'm actually kind of glad they went after the Aether Vial. Well, of course, if I don't draw another land, that's going to be good. But, yeah, I'm going to play the Trickster at end of turn. Probably discard another Trickster. And, yeah, I mean, you know, it's not the end of the world to lose an Aether Vial, especially when I've got enough lands to cast all my spells. This does show that Jund is not particularly that concerned about Chalice. You'd think they'd go after Chalice, though. I mean, that Thoughtseize is value, and Cling to Dust, you know, they would be active if not for Chalice. So I don't know if they got another Kolaghan's Command, but you know, even if so, I mean, I guess that would make sense. If they got another Kolaghan's Command, then they slow me down a little bit more. But I mean, they don't play too many copies of it. They gotta have it, right? I mean, what else could they have? Still, I can't not play Merfolk Trickster. That'd be unfortunate because I think in most other universes, they'd be in. Oh, well, that makes me regret ditching the other Trickster, but you know, that's about the only card that would really make me regret like that. So let's see. Well, you know, I think I gotta play out the Lords. The Dismember is it's not really presenting a target anyway. Would have been nice to be able to deal with Liliana nice and clean right there, but hey, it is what it is. Let's see, opponent plays Bloodblade Elf, I'm guessing. No, at least Ren and 6 is not really going to do all that much. I just find it endlessly fascinating that the opponent does not seem to be that concerned about Chalice. I mean, Chalice is not the best overall against Jund, but it did, you know, shut off their Thoughtseize, which could have been good. It did, you know, they did have to ditch their Fatal Push, which also could have been good because of it. It's also making it so they can't get value off of Cling to Dust from their graveyard. You know, interestingly enough, I guess they're not ticking up. Well, that works for me because I finally get Liliana off the table. I will play out the Mutavault. This is one thing that's nice about Oboro, is that I do always have this available to return to my hand if need be. Yeah, finally I get to get Liliana off. Thank goodness. I don't have Fairy Conclave this game, but you can see how valuable Fairy Conclave can be against Liliana specifically. It's been a long time since I've lost to Liliana specifically, so I'm hoping with this configuration that'll happen less. Raging Ravine might start cracking in, but, you know, Spreading Seas is just particularly good against Raging Ravine, so, you know, hopefully I'll draw that. Or another Bloodbraid Elf, I guess. Yeah, see, discard spells get kind of bad kind of quickly in Jund. That's why I would think it's correct to board them out in Game 2, although sometimes that can prevent them from losing to silly Spreading Sea shenanigans. So there is some merit to leaving him in, but I think in general, Jund loses by getting a string of unfortunate bad top decks like that right there. We'll see if that actually happens this game, but Chalice, I think Chalice on 2, given this board state, is going to screw me over more than them, so I don't think that would be a good idea. I don't think losing either my Mutavault or my Lord of Atlantis makes a lot of sense. Actually, maybe losing my Mutavault is fine. I don't think the Ren is doing that much. So, yeah, I'm going to offer the trade, because that way it unlocks me possibly attacking with Lord of Atlantis. I guess I'll attack Ren, because, like, I may not be able to attack again. I may just have to keep it off of ultimating. Obviously, getting their life total lower seems good too. Yeah, but most likely they were going to block anyway, so, you know, I think it was a distinction somewhat without a difference. And I'm keeping the Chalice in hand just in case I draw a Copter. or something. I don't think a second copy does all that much for me, and I definitely think playing it on 2 is not a good idea. It essentially will lock me out of the game. I can sometimes play Chalice on 2 if I have a Vial, but since I don't this game, I think especially since I'm trying to play for the Spreading Seas. And so the opponent is gaining card advantage in a way with Ren and 6, but they're also taking 1 damage every time they do this, so it's not completely free. Well, this is also where Merfolk Trickster. There's one reason I brought Merfolk Trickster back in. Let's see if Merfolk Trickster comes to the rescue. Huh. Well, repeal ain't half bad either. I could get in a clean swing against Ren. And the good news is I'm not vulnerable to targeted discard. Yeah, I guess I might as well bounce Tarmogoyf whether it's my turn or their turn. This way, if I draw a Mutavault, it can attack next turn too. So I don't think there's anything in particular that punishes me that bad here. Can't activate Raging Ravine and block. What would be particularly nice next turn is if I draw Spreading Seas, then Spreading Seas into this Master would be pretty nice. I did have to keep the Ren from ultimating though, because then they can Kolaghan's Command my Chalice, and that's not good. They still might be able to Assassin's Trophy it or Abrupt Decay, depending on if they got something, but we'll see. Yeah, probably. They got the Tarmogoyf. I may just have to make a mad dash for their life total here. In my experience, they oftentimes actually do not see. They don't seem to respect bluffs a lot of times, my opponents. I think part of it is there's this assumption that Merfolk is like a noob-ish deck. I don't know if my opponent is familiar, with me in particular. If not, they might assume I'm like a newbie player who doesn't know what they're doing. I'm going to predict they block here. I know that sounds insane, but I'm going to predict they block here because just in my experience, it's just very interesting. The opponents they seem to always assume that I'm bluffing and I got nothing. It's very interesting, but let's see. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you guys. I can't necessarily recommend this. I have to imagine like if you're in like a paper tournament that's pretty big, that may not necessarily be the best play. Although it's not necessarily bad because obviously I am immune to removal spell blowout on my turn, and like it's not necessarily the worst to attack there. So probably that was correct. But the fact that we got particular value by them blocking, I don't know what to say. That's one of the good things about Trickster, though. But it is quite uncanny. I'm going to make future predictions too, and you'll see. A lot of times the opponent will fall for pretty obvious traps. They don't seem to necessarily suspect a lot for some reason. Again, I'm guessing it's because they assume Merfolk players are like Timmy newbies and are like doing dumb, chump attacks or something. I'm not sure. Because like literally that was a chump attack there based on the opponent's block. Yeah, there maybe is an alternate universe where I did bluff. So they've got their Raging Ravine at 4. If I attack all out, I could actually bring them to 2. Or I could just attack with Merfolk Trickster and then bring them down to 5. I kind of like that better. If you think about it, then I Alpha Strike next turn and I don't have to lose a creature in the process. And if they block, then that's still pretty good for me. So I think it makes more sense to just attack with the Merfolk Trickster because this is a 4/4. That's got 1 counter on it. I am going to go after their life total. I wonder if there's some merit to playing out the second Chalice here. I wonder if the opponent realizes that Cling to Dust is going to get countered with Chalice, if that's what they're doing. Okay, they're going to block. That's justifiable. Hopefully they don't have a Kolaghan's Command. Well, the good news is they actually can't kill anything with Kolaghan's Command. Oh. Well, that would have been a good reason to play Chalice. But actually now I can play the Silvergill Adept on my second main phase. Yeah. Hey, not bad. But I don't think this is still that bad for me though. I can still play this Silvergill Adept. I'm glad that you know, I mean, yeah, believe it or not, it's not the end of the world. That was a nice play from the opponent, but you know, I still kind of cleanly 2-for-1 them with that Merfolk Trickster anyway. So it's kind of back to parity if you think about it. That could have been an argument in favor of attacking with the Masters too. You know, I actually think Chalice might be the right call because Cling to Dust can just, you know, again, the opponent, interestingly enough, is just not really respecting Chalice all that much. Oh, I guess they got another removal spell. Huh. Yeah, it looks like playing the second Chalice actually may have been the so-called game breaker. But of course, I could have pitched that to the Smuggler's Copter. You know, maybe I have to like get past this thinking of Chalice not being good against Jund. As we see here, it actually is quite good. I mean, it's not necessarily worth keeping in the main deck good, but you know, good enough that maybe I should have respected the fact that they probably had to deal with it. Okay, so I think the opponent's got lethal because this will turn into a 6/6. Well, I guess that was a good game, but I think we would have had that for sure if I would have just played the Chalice, the other Chalice. They wouldn't have had that play available. Not gonna lie, it's a little frustrating to lose to an opponent that seems to think so little of you to make dumb blocks like they did. But you know, overall, it's really something to actually be happy about that they're more liable to misplay like that. Yeah, I don't think bringing in counterspells makes sense. The relics help out a lot. All the rest of the cards are pretty good. Aether Gust might be better than Repeal, but actually Repeal can be pretty darn good. And Aether Gust doesn't counter most of their spells, so believe it or not, I think Repeal is better than Aether Gust. There might be some merit to playing Chalice simply because it shuts off Veil of Summer, but I don't think it's good enough otherwise. Certainly not as good as Relic of Progenitus, and unfortunately the fact that it shuts off Relic is a bad thing. Well, you know, this is kind of why we play Merfolk. Oh yeah, also Veil doesn't actually do that much, especially since it took out the counter magic. A lot of the times I am going to be repealing my own creatures anyway. I don't think... let me check Veil really quick. Let me see. I think Veil of Summer just gives your permanents hexproof. Looking it up now. Yeah, spells you control can't be countered. Permanents you control gains hexproof. Yeah, so so the good news is the way we're set up, I don't think Veil of Summer really does all that much to us anyway. It does protect them from Dismember though, so there is that. But that's about it. Something to keep in mind, because Repeal is most of the time, believe it or not, going to be protecting my own creatures. And yeah, Veil Summer doesn't really do anything there. Okay, I just have a feeling that playing a Lord is just going to walk right into a Lightning Bolt or a or a Fatal Push, you know? And since I've got Fairy Conclave, it makes it a lot more awkward for their Lilianas on turn 3. So because of that, I'm purposely going to play the Fairy Conclave, and yeah, and I actually think this is correct because it actually chokes their mana up just a little bit. You know, of course they can fetch a tapped Pain Land, but I don't think the 2 damage matters as much as them not being able to utilize a clean 1 mana on their turn. The Aether Vial will, I think, out tempo them, and I can afford to. I certainly can afford to wait on when I play my spells. Because like here, if I don't play another Merfolk, also I'm holding up Repeal, and they might not be able to do anything with their mana on turn 2. Believe it or not, that's huge. That's huge. If they don't have anything to do the first 2 turns, you know, that's pretty huge. You know, I could play Spreading Seas. I'm worried about, actually, I forgot, Veil of Summer also. I forgot that Spreading Seas can also be countered by Veil of Summer. So for that for that reason, as well as also just I like the plan of playing a Lord at the end of the turn and possibly saving it with Repeal, I'm going to go for that play. This is how I like to play with Repeal, you know? Like, sure, the opponent might see it coming, but, you know, I haven't played Repeal in a while anyway, so even though it is me, I don't know, it doesn't look like my opponent is particularly familiar with me specifically. Yeah, you know, this is kind of why I play Repeal, is to hold it up like this. I'm not sure that I ever am super thrilled about Assassin's Trophying a Aether Vial, but I think that's a good argument for why it's good to try to choke your opponent on mana, because I think they did that more than anything because they just really didn't have much else to do. So the good news here is I think Repeal is going to be pretty insane. Yep. This is what we call a 2-for-1. You know, there was some merit to maybe just sacrificing the Fairy Conclave, but, you know, I mean, against an attrition match like this, I gotta take my 2-for-1s where I can, and this is where Fairy Conclave is just A+. I can just cleanly deal with the Liliana, although I wonder if there's some merit to... I can't actually keep my opponent off of anything. If I do play Spreading Seas, I could possibly draw into another land to attack with a Fairy Conclave, or I could play... you know, we just saw how one of those previous games worked out. I'm just going to get Liliana off the table while I can. I know it seems strange because it's not exactly the most efficient use of my mana, but you know, Liliana can just be so problematic, and really, like, this game just does not really come down to you know, like to tempo as much as you know, attrition. Well, this was kind of the worst case scenario in a way, because now they've got mana up for my next Fairy Conclave. I still think it was correct to attack, though, because if they didn't have a second Liliana, but they had like a whole bunch of 1-mana removal spells, that could have been a big problem. Of course, now that could still be a big problem, but they won't always have two Lilianas. So I can actually cut them off of red if I... So see, should I keep Repeal? I kind of feel like Repeal is not at its best anymore. I already got pretty good value out of it. Yeah, I kind of like having at least one Spreading Seas, and all the rest of these are just very solid. So hopefully the opponent doesn't play something else. Alrighty, well, so I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go after their red source, see what I draw. This is game 1, so I'm not particularly afraid of choke and tapping my islands there, but that is a consideration in games 2 and 3. Okay, I'm probably not going to attack with the Fairy Conclave, but this does force my opponent's hand, so to speak. And, well, I think Smuggler's Copter is now the pretty obvious play. You know, they were unlikely to be able to deal with it anyway, but yeah, the plan actually originally was to end of turn Merfolk Trickster and you know, go from there. I did play Spreading Seas instead of playing a creature. I just thought for sure they'd probably have a 1-mana removal spell, which I'm still pretty certain they do. Believe it or not, I'm going to drop a Lord. I think the odds of them having another Tarmogoyf are pretty high, but also just playing something at the end of their turn is pretty powerful. Yeah, not too particularly threatened by... Yeah, and there's the other Tarmogoyf. So let's see, I'm thinking to make another attack, but the thing is it's going to be involving a Lord, so I'm not going to be able to get the Bluff Blowout. But you know, this Trickster, yeah, actually, Trickster is probably just very, very good, as we can see. Yeah, I'm going to reveal the Master of the Pearl Trident. I'm thinking if I draw an island, then I can play everything out. Well, it's not bad. I may want to dish it, though, with Smuggler's Copter. Yeah. You know, there was some consideration of leaving up 2 blockers, but the good thing about Merfolk Trickster, you know, I actually think the Aether Vial is pretty good. Believe it or not, I'm going to ditch the Master that I revealed. I know that seems taboo, but like these Tricksters are just going to be so essential to dealing with this Tarmogoyf. Of course, it has flying, just if the opponent realizes that they might be trying to block. Alright, again, it's game 1, so I think I can tap my island, basically with impunity. The reason why I decided to keep the Aether Vial is that freeing up my mana can be pretty huge, and it also unlocks the Fiery Islet, you know, being able to be cracked. Because right now I have to use it for mana every turn, or I have to have it available for mana, but with the Aether Vial, it might free up my mana a bit. And overall, like that's one of the reasons why Aether Vial is so good in this deck, because even this late, it still helps by freeing up mana for other things like the Manlands and the Fiery Islets. So I do predict that they are not going to get blown out this time, because I'm sure they're going to have a removal spell from my Merfolk Trickster when I try to ambush them. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say that's like fine, but I can live with that. Yeah, and believe it or not, I'm discarding the Lord. Yes, I know. I know, sounds insane. But I do predict they're going to be able to deal with this Merfolk Trickster, and I will ideally want to have access to it next turn. And if they don't deal with it, I'm in pretty good shape, and I'm a pretty happy camper anyway. They did discard the Lightning Bolt, so yeah. Well, that's... Yeah, you know, thank you to one of my viewers who questioned not playing Merfolk Trickster, you know. I do like Harbinger with Chalice, but like, yeah, Trickster is definitely better without Chalice, and you know, I think there is something to be said about trying to play your best game without Chalice. You know, because when you do have Chalice, the hope is that alone is going to be pretty strong. So, obviously they don't have a 1-mana removal spell, otherwise they wouldn't have gotten blown out like that. So, you know, but let's see, how many can I attack with? I think I can attack with everything. No, I can't quite. If I attack with everything, I can't play the Merfolk Trickster. So I think the play is to attack with these two. I'm going to be very shocked if they have a removal spell. But even so, it's really not that bad because I can just flash in the Trickster and avoid it getting eaten. Yeah, so I think the plan is to tap down the Bloodbraid and then sack the Fiery Islet. Huh. Or maybe not, because I think I need this Merfolk Trickster to deal with the Tarmogoyf. So I think I'm going to block with the Mutavault and hold up the Trickster. The question here is, you know, I can block with actually the Fairy Conclave, and that does free up my mana, although although the evasion is something to think about. But I think I will. I think I will actually block, and I will cycle. I will use, before it dies. I will cycle. I will use it to cycle the fairy. The fire islet. So really have to. I think I really need my mana to be efficient at this point. All right. Well, now I've got Tarmogoyf covered a number of ways. So. All right. So I am predicting. Okay, so now I can cut them off of both green and red. I think I want to cut them off red though. You know, I mean, they've already used 3 Tarmogoyfs. That's the only green card that I'm super threatened by. And red, I'm just a little worried about reach at this point. But let's see, actually. Yeah, I guess I might as well just cut them off of red right now and see what I draw. I am predicting another chump. Another chump. You know, I'm predicting they think I'm bluffing. Maybe no. I shouldn't be that. I shouldn't give my opponent that little credit. Maybe I did a slight little pause, and they're like, okay, now he's now. But okay, yeah, because it just I mean, they can just take the 2 damage. You know, they're not in a whole big boatload of threat. So now the question is, you know, do I hold up the Mutavault? And I think the answer is I do, because I actually yeah, that allows me to do 2 possibilities. That allows me to block both the Bloodbraid and the Tarmogoyf, or it allows me to double block the Tarmogoyf for maximum. Oh yeah, you know, they always draw this like in situations like this. Well, you know, I'm just gonna tap the Tarmogoyf down in response. But you know, if I would have played both these relics, then that wouldn't have been an issue. For a while there, I thought maybe they didn't. Maybe they boarded the discard out. But you know, I would love to take this trade. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I do have to play the relic here. I think I am going to attack with 1 creature. I know this seems a little bit timid, but I do want to be able to. Okay. Yeah, it's just only having 1 creature to block the Tarmogoyf just seems very risky. Okie dokie. So unless I'm missing something, I mean, instant and creature are already in the graveyard. So I think if I double block here and I dismember, that'll be a 1/2. Yeah, that'll be a 1/2. And I don't even think I have to crack the. Actually, I'm going to crack the relic for the possibility of a 2-for-1. You know, this might be a little greedy, but you know, I'm giving the Jund matchup a lot of respect. You know, they might have a removal spell, but the reason why I'm doing this more than anything is that I've got the Dismember as a backup. Yeah, I think that was worth it. And I don't think there's really that much more they could be playing that makes me want to hold on to the relic anyway. So there was a lot of upside and not a lot of downside. Plus, now they're off green. So I'm kind of liking this game. I'm just going to hold on to the vial. gonna play the land, hold on to the vial for copter fodder. Oh, I didn't notice this. This is definitely a problem, but the relic has been ticking up apparently. I must have accidentally clicked yield all and always yes instead of always no. Well, there goes my relic. Hopefully that isn't a game-losing problem, but that does mean I've effectively destroyed my own relic. Because, although, you know, I maybe there's some utility to threatening Master of Waves, because that's got to be what my opponent puts me on. You know, here this is unfortunate, because I really wish I could have played this without having to tap all my lands. Although my opponent probably just assumes that I don't know. I don't know if my opponent is really thinking that hard about what exactly this Aether Vial signals. I would be curious if you do happen to be watching this, Yard Dog Pong. Like, why is it exactly that you do make these blocks sometimes with like I send like a creature right into Tarmogoyf. You know, I know that the Merfolk matchup is not like a super common one, but like even, you know, I'm just gonna play the Smuggler's Copter here because I'm a little bit worried about a Kolaghan's Command, and well, you know what, Kolaghan's Command would have could get it in play, whether in play or in my hand, but anyway, it's unlikely to make a difference anyway. But I am curious why exactly some blocks happen where it kind of seems obvious that I got something up. Especially when I'm making these attacks and it's not like I'm in a desperate situation where it seems like I may need to do that. On the other hand, you know, sometimes misplays do happen. As we saw, I did make a dumb misplay chump attack in the Mono White Devotion game. So, you know, there maybe is some upside to just playing for capitalizing on some misplays. Well, I like how that played out. I don't think I'm going to make any changes. Aether Gust is the only type of card that might be worth it, but, you know, Repeal, I really like Repeal here, and I think Repeal is better. I don't know if they've got Veil of Summer, but we didn't see it that game. Could have been a blowout, actually, right there with the double block on the Tarmogoyf. That would have been the blowout of blowouts. And actually, in retrospect, maybe there was more downside than I thought, actually, about doing that plan. It might have just made more sense to just dismember first, and then if they Veiled of Summer, then actually they would have been super blown out. Okay, so, you know, I don't have a lot of time left, so I'm probably going to minimize commentary. I'm actually going to keep this, believe it or not. Even though it's stunted with the Fairy Conclave, I've actually won a lot of games against Jund, keeping Fairy Conclave hands, because this matchup just does not demand. Well, and it all works out in the end anyway. But this matchup just does not. I'm just not usually super punished for delaying Aether Vial for a turn, and Fairy Conclave is usually pretty good anyway. Just being able to help handle Planeswalkers, and of course chipping in sometimes at the end of the game. That little evasion can be very good. So red and 6. Oh no, Tarmogoyf. Yeah, you know, but I got the relic. Again, I'm low on time, so excuse me if I don't have as much sort of entertaining things to say. Play the relic. Yeah, I'm just going to go off to the land. You know, if they've got red and 6, you know, maybe they don't have another fetch land. They are playing Baron Moor, which signals maybe not the strongest of hands. This also enables me to auto yield, and right now saving time is actually a premium. It's not just like a theoretical advantage. It is very much a tangible advantage to save time now. So I could, in theory, cut them off of red or green, or actually no, but green would seem obvious because I can't actually cut them off of red. I don't think Plague Engineer is overall that bad, to be honest. And now, so I'm going to do yield all. Oops, always yield. I'm going to do always no and yes. So now hopefully it doesn't keep ticking up forever. Man, I want to be able to attack with Smuggler's Copter next turn, but but cutting them off of green mana is just too tempting. I think I gotta go for this. Yeah, plus I can make another land drop. Again, just playing for the time saving. Another fetch land. I can't imagine they've got too many lands, because why would they play the Baron Moor tapped on the first turn? You know, if they got a lot of lands, you'd think they'd cycle Baron Moor. Or not, or maybe they're just drawing lands. I don't know. Well, I mean, at least maybe they feel bad about playing the Baron Moor, because I have to imagine the way their hand is shaping up, it would have just made more sense to cycle it. So I'm guessing when they kept their hand, they didn't have a lot of lands, but they kept drawing them. Yeah, I don't know. Not super concerned about taking 2 damage. Second main phase Bloodwraith? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe the opponent is also under pressure to play quicker, but doesn't seem like this was the optimal way to play. Well, you know, see, holding the Lords till end of turn, you know, kind of kept them safe from a Ren ping. Do you think I have to start playing them, though? I can deal with the Plague Engineer, which might actually be the best thing to do. So I think what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to play Silvergill Adept, reveal the Master, and I think I'm going to attack the Ren in 6, and I think I'm going to destroy the Plague Engineer. Well, actually, I don't want to. Silvergill Adept is more ideal. You know, problem here. Yeah. Problem here is yeah, I think this is okay. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to preemptively play this. And I'm just going to deal with the Plague Engineer now, because definitely it's the biggest possibility of getting blown out is if they kill Lord of Atlantis, then all my Silvergills die. Of course, they could kill Silvergill, and I mean, they could kill Lord of Atlantis and then ping the Silvergill, but that's nowhere near as devastating, because also it makes Ren, it takes 1 less attack to kill Ren. Could have been some merit to playing the Lord, but I don't want to get stuck with Silvergill in my hand if they kill Aether Vial, and for some reason they seem to be particularly interested in doing that. Even though I'm you know, I think that's a little bit dubious, but you know, with the Relic up, all right, with the Relic up, I'm fairly confident that I can block the Tarmogoyf pretty well. The Silvergill was already card advantage anyway. I did play it last turn just because I like digging further into the deck, and the Lord would have been the same thing. I would have had a Lord here instead of the Silvergill. Yeah, so same thing. No instant to really pitch. So the question is, you know, do I take and go down to 7? And I think the answer is yes. I know, like, well, actually, I think what I do is well, there's no real creep. There's no real. So I think what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to just start removing my creatures one by one. I think taking 7 is is fine, because I need to be able to deter the Tarmogoyf for the rest of the game, and just preventing the 3 damage now isn't worth, I think, the much more damage that I might be subjected to later down the line. Merfolk Trick should be pretty nice. And slowly but surely, I'm pulling ahead in time. Well, I'm ready to pull ahead in time soon. So there's also that. Not sure why the opponent is taking a while. Maybe they're lagging. And I'm going after the creatures because Scavenging Ooze gets significantly less powerful if you remove all your own creatures. And now we're ahead on time. Ideally, I want to keep it that way. Going to play the... you know, I probably should have tapped this Fray Conclave because of Choke, but, you know, under a lot of pressure, and I don't know. Yeah, there really was no downside. I guess I was thinking, you know, like maybe I can block. Obviously I can't because I don't have enough mana. Running low on time. So the plan here is I'm going to block with the Lord, or I'm going to present the Lord, and if the opponent goes for a removal spell, I'm going to crew. Otherwise, I'm just going to block, and then I'm going to cycle Relic at the end of turn. And, you know, if the opponent has a ping and a lightning bolt, that's a bit of a problem. But I don't think... Let's see, if you know, they can put a land instant creature in the graveyard by just one removal spell. It's always a problem. I think yeah, you know what? Actually, I have to block. I know I'm kind of deviating from the plan, but I really need to get this Aether Vial out of my hand. Plus, maybe I draw into a Trickster. A little surprised the opponent didn't go for the, well, I guess, yeah, I just shouldn't have deviated from the plan. I'm guessing Lightning Bolt. It's just unfortunate. The good news is, though, I will have 4/4 Masters, most likely, since they did opt to go for the Copter instead of the Lords. And they are running quite low on time, so I don't know. I mean, I'm dead to 3 Ren Pings, but actually, you know, I could definitely be in a worse position. No doubt about it. And I will tap this time simply because having the Fairy Conclave available to block is super good. Okay, so I'm going to attack the Ren because it is a source of lethal damage. Obviously, I'm not worried about Lightning Bolt, so I can do this now because they would just kill me. This will pump Goyf, but, you know, I have to get the Ren off the table. And I am threatening a lethal counter swing, so there is that. I can block the Bloodbraid with the Conclave, or I can just block with the 4/4s. So let's see. I don't know. Maybe this does actually turn out okay. Maelstrom Pulse would be the absolute worst. All right. Well, I can still. I can't block everything, actually. That was like the best possible thing they could have. Oh, I should have gone for a Merfolk Trickster. Well, actually, the Trickster can still actually oh, this is below on time. See if I would have drawn Trickster. Nope. Yeah, I think the blocking there probably was the, probably if I had the, now, I don't even think the Copter was actually all that important anyway, but holding on to the Relic might have helped. Yeah, that was a good game, but I think that's a game I definitely could have won. All right. Yeah, we have to think about that a little more.